afternoon and welcome. This is Sunshine Reports. My name is Oyewumi Ayinigbara. The Ondo State government has reiterated its commitment to continually encourage investors towards enhancing food sufficiency. Senior Special Advisor to Governor Ayedatiwa on Agric and Agribusiness, Mr. Wemimo Akinshola, who made this known to Osrc, said the present administration will leave no stone unturned in boosting the agricultural sector. Omoriola Ngbiji reports.
Reports indicate that over the past 3 years, food prices in Nigeria have surged drastically, with food inflation hitting 40.7%, its highest level ever, while overall inflation stands at 34.2%, the highest in 28 years. In response, the Ondo State government is taking decisive steps by introducing technological-driven innovations to support farmers. As part of the effort, tractor units will be established across the 3 senatorial districts to complement farmers' efforts during this planting season, while training and retraining programs for farmers are ongoing.
It's going to take 6 months to set up all these points of tractors and farming equipment in places for the farmers to be able to have the key benefit of those things. And like I keep telling you, it is not the old school anymore where you bring out tractors and you pick names from a box and you give these tractors out and we don't see them anymore after 6 months and they don't pay for them. We've done that. It's good for TV and radio and stuff like that, newspaper, but does it actually work? We want something that actually works. And from what experience we've seen and from our research, we feel we should have a holistic control of tools for farmers and take the challenges to them to use them and for it to be maintained well. Not to knock boots. Anything that government seems to want to put hands in, people think to take advantage. So it's better when the private sector comes in and take those boots and provide those services. We just give them the support.
The Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Agric and Agribusiness, Mr. Wemimo Akinshola, who decried the destruction of farmlands by herders, said the government is now encouraging investors into forest reserves, who will in turn help preserve them for farming purposes. He warned that no resident is permitted to plant cash crops in government-reserved forests and lay claim to ownership, as the government will continue to take decisive action against such practices.
We as a state now have to protect our borders once we don't want to come in. So we use what we have to get what we need. When investors now come in, we now use them on the borderline to actually clear this land out so that insurgents won't have any access to those places anymore. Those are all strategic plan issue in using your land to secure whatever you need to secure. So those places are going to be special zones created for investors who have the capacity to enter there, clear those land, and get those insurgents out of the way. Then our armed forces can now enter those places and keep them secure. The farmers can now go in and do their job. The forest is a reserve by government. You are not really allowed to do cash crop or tree crops. We only use it for temporary use, and government don't come to that. But what we have is, along many years, people have planted tree crops and they've turned the place into their real farm, which is wrong. The state now wants to use the place for investors. We have to give the place to investors, so there's a clash between the farmers and the investors. So Mr. Governor has given me the approval to settle the investors and the farmers on our land.
Reacting to reports of alleged extortion in the forest reserves, Mr. Akinshola clarified that the government is not collecting money from farmers and will never engage in such practices.
I have not asked anybody to pay for being saved or not being saved. I have not asked anybody to pay either on Sao land or any other land for you to be saved on that land. Nobody is to pay anybody any money. I have not asked anybody to collect any money on my behalf. And if you have proof that money is being collected, please, either go to the police or come to our office and let us be able to sort it out. The farmers should be aware. Mr. Governor is working for you to make sure that there's peace between you and the investors. And you have to understand it is on his own magnanimity that he's doing this. He feels for you because the mistake that has been done, we don't have to pay you back by cutting your cocoa or claiming your palm. We're reaching an equilibrium with you because we're a friendly government trying to reach an equilibrium with you for you to protect whatever we cannot take from you. But at the same time, investors are also needed in the state.
He also urged farmers across the state, regardless of their category, to register with the government in order to benefit from the dividends of democracy. Omoriola Humbeji, Osrc News.
The 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination UTME, organized by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAM), has commenced across the state. The examination is being held at about 23 centers across the state, and it is scheduled to hold for 4 days. Joy Pius, who monitored the exercise, reports that parents commended the conduct of the examination.
Students who registered for the 2025 Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board Examination (JAMB) gathered at various designated centers across Ondo State for the exercise. At various centers monitored in Akure, the Ondo State capital, the examination went smoothly, including the biometric verification of candidates. Parents and guardians heeded the warning to stay meters away from the examination venue as instructed by JAMB. Some of the candidates who sat for the examination shared optimism of success.
I came here for my JAMB, but this is my first time. But I know that I'm going to pass. I'm very well prepared.
I hope a lot that I will do well on the exam. I tried my best in reading. This is my first and this will be my last time I write JAMB.
Officials commend the orderliness and comportment of the students.
We've done the first batch, which is in the morning. This is the second section. So far, we've not had any issue, and the students and the officials has been orderly, and everything has been going on well. So there's no any issue.
Stakeholders expressed satisfaction with the conduct of the examination, urging the board to sustain the tempo.
Looking at the conduct of this JAMB that we just witnessed now, I think it's improving. Are you with me now? It's improving, and candidates are here already to meet up with the time. And if they had been doing this kind of thing right from the scratch, I think we wouldn't have been where we are today. We must have graduated more than this. Are you with me now? So I can see the courage from that JAMB office, and I can see their commitment to improve the education. And I think at this junction I have to send that kind of advice to parents. They have to put in their very best so that the two parties can work together to lift the education up in Nigeria.
The examination continues till Monday, 28th April 2025. Joy Pius, Osrc News.
Meanwhile, examination malpractice is becoming increasingly common in some schools and learning institutions. To address this growing concern and restore integrity to the education system, the West African Examination Council (WAEC) is rolling out a new initiative, a customized question paper model, where no two candidates receive the exact same set of questions. In this report, Blessing Obi takes a closer look at the prevalence of exam malpractices and how the council is working to combat it.
In a country where education is regarded as a cornerstone of progress, the credibility of examinations remains a critical pillar of academic integrity. Yet for decades, Nigeria's education system has grappled with a persistent challenge: examination malpractice. In a bid to tackle this issue, the West African Examinations Council has introduced a customized question paper model for selected subjects in the 2024/2025 West African Senior School Certificate Examination. According to WAEC, this innovation is part of a broader strategy to curb malpractice across the sub-region. In 2024 alone, over 200,000 WAEC results were withheld in Nigeria due to suspected examination malpractice. Similarly, in Ghana, WAEC withheld results from candidates in 235 schools over irregularities during the 2023 examinations. To counter this trend, WAEC is now personalizing question papers for key subjects including English language papers 1 and 3, mathematics, biology, and economics. Under this new model, each candidate receives a unique set of questions directly linked to their personalized optical mark recognition (OMR) sheet. Reacting to the development, the chairman of the Nigerian Union of Teachers in Ondo State, Samuel Ayodele, described the move as timely and necessary for preserving the integrity of public examinations.
This initiative by WAEC, as they want to customize some question papers like English language, biology, mathematics, and economics, the core subjects. I think it should curb examination malpractices. If the government and the WAEC official, if they can strictly monitored the program, I think the program will curb examination malpractices in our environment.
The state chairman of the Academic Staff Union of Secondary Schools in Ondo State, along with other education stakeholders, also endorsed the initiative, expressing optimism that it will produce meaningful long-term results.
The teachers should put in more effort. We have been teaching the students, so we'll be encouraged to put in more effort. The students too should be patient enough to study. Ask from the teachers what they don't understand. Then the parents too, who also, because we have some very bad parents who go about to take their children to miracle centers in quotes, for them to be able to pass examination cheaply. It is not the best. If you help a student today, the bad student you produce today, who gets qualified through a very poor and bad means, will become somebody who will also ruin the economy and the society itself. They cannot be useful to their parents. So I 100% subscribe to it.
When I heard the news, I was highly, happy because I know that this mechanism they just introduced is going to redeem the image of the education in Nigeria, especially among these young ones that are in secondary school. Because I know some of them now, because of these Yahoo things now, and they like all the social media and stuff, so they don't want to go to lesson again, and they are not even ready to even study and pass by themselves.
If it works, everybody will be happy. But I think the level of customizing the thing, especially on some specific subjects, I don't know why. I don't know how they arrived at that conclusions, But if it's going to work, they must put a Nigerian factor away from.
Beyond curbing cheating during exams, the initiative targets deeper-rooted issues such as collusion, impersonation, and question leaks, long-standing threats to the credibility of WAEC's examination process. Blessing Obe, Osrc News.
A professor of public and administrative management, Ladipo Adamoleko, has reiterated the need for a developed federation in Nigeria. He spoke during the media presentation of his latest book, Reflections of Governance and Development in Nigeria, held in Akure, Ondo State. The event attracted journalists, scholars, and diplomats across various sectors. Blessing Obe reports.
Professor Ladipo Adamolekun's latest work, Reflections on Governance and Development in Nigeria, takes a deep dive into the country's political journey, strongly advocating for the restructuring of Nigeria into a truly devolved federation. His 37th book spans 239 pages, divided into two sections. Part A features selected unpublished papers, while Part B compiles selected newspaper essays. The book critically explores the twin themes of governance and development, with a particular focus on Nigerians' experiences in the 2000s. Calls for a more devolved system of governance dominated conversations at the launch event.
They have actually been the ones that have sensitized Nigeria and the rest of the continent to the disastrous policies and practices of bad governance, but they've always been oppressed without consequences by both military and civilian leaders.
Intellectuals, media practitioners, political figures, and members of the diplomatic corps gathered to engage with the issues raised in the book. In his remarks, Professor Adamolekun described devolve or die as his political credo, underscoring the urgency of redistributing functions and resources between the federal and subnational governments.
Only devolution can unleash the forces of consolidating democracy and achieving accelerated socio-economic progress in Nigeria. The alternative to devolution will likely be the death of the federation. I will recommend a 35 to 65% share for the central and subnational governments, respectively, with respect to both powers and resources. Of course, the proposed percentages of sharing would be subject to debate. However, to ensure a peaceful and well-performing Nigerian federal system, the share of subnational governments must be significantly higher than that of the central government with respect to both powers and resources.
The event featured robust intellectual discourse, with participants emphasizing the need for transformative governance reforms in Nigeria.
It's not happening wholesale, but it's happening bit by bit. We're seeing devolution of powers in certain areas today. We're going to see more. We're going to see things like rail lines now moving from the exclusive to the concurrent list. We're going to see things like the ease of doing business and the things required to improve the ease of doing business, devolving to states.
When we just do hit and miss and pick this, pick that, without a cohesive plan, it doesn't all go well for us as a country. So we need to be deliberate in our planning, in our execution, and in our responsibility as citizens. So Nigeria will be better if all of us have that understanding that the ultimate goal of each citizen is to see Nigeria prosper, Nigeria progress, and Nigeria take its place amongst the Committee of Nations.
Consensus among the discussants was clear. Restructuring into a devolved federation is not just necessary, it is critical to transforming Nigeria into a high-performing state. Blessing Obi, Osrc News.
The April edition of the monthly sanitation exercise will hold across the state tomorrow. A statement following the incessant killings caused by the reckless driving of truck drivers on major roads, the Tipper Drivers Association in Ondo State has called for caution, warning the errand members may soon face the full wrath of the law. Chairman of the association in Akure and its environs, Alani Abule, while addressing members in the state capital, warned against careless driving, stressing that no life can be replaced. Omoriola Ungbiji tells us more.
Níbi ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ìjàmbá ọkọ̀ àjàgbé tí ń di lemọ́lemọ́ ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ondo ló ti di àpérò fún ẹgbẹ́ awakọ̀ ọkọ̀ àjàgbé nílùú Àkúrẹ́ àti agbègbè rẹ̀. Lójúnà láti wá ojútùú sí ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀.
The repeated cases of accidents involving tipper vehicles in Ondo State have become a source of concern for the Tipper Drivers Association in Akure and its environs. In response, the association convened an emergency stakeholders meeting to address the worrisome trend. To this end, Wednesday, April 23rd, was declared a work-free day by the association in the state capital, allowing members to deliberate on best practices for safer service delivery. Chairman of the association, Alani Abule, expressed sadness over the rising number of fatal accidents According to him, many of the incidents are caused by untrained novices who assume driving roles without the association's approval. He urged tipper owners to conduct thorough background checks before hiring drivers, noting that these frequent accidents damage the reputation of the association. Mr. Abule also emphasized the importance of valuing human life and advised tipper owners to hire only professional drivers to prevent further tragedies.
tó bá ti ra típà sí gbòòrò wà gbé fẹ́lẹ̀ tó bá ti ìwọ tó lówó tó ra típà yẹn tó rẹ tó wà lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ ọdún ẹ lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ ilé ẹ̀tẹ́jọ kọ́lé ti ra tó lóun wa Tyson wà ti wù pé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni bí Tyson ṣe rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ni típà ṣe rí wà gbé fún un mọ́tò gbòòrò nìyẹn ìwà gbé mọ́tò dé gbòòrò títí fẹjú mọ́ ó wá ń fi bàlàbàlà wà fi kó báyọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ní fámìlì sí gbòòrò bẹ́ẹ̀ lèmi tí mo jẹ́ ṣáàmà èmi náà ṣe ní fámìlì sí gbòòrò ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ẹ̀ tó ń wa típà náà ní ìyá tó ní bàbá tó lọ́mọ tó ní ìyàwó sí gbòòrò tàlàwà mọ̀ tí típà lè kọlù.
Other leaders of the association also spoke, charging members to maintain good conduct while on the road.
Báwo bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ pé ẹ má mutí wa kọ̀, ẹ má sáré fún àǹfààní àwọ̀ ara wa àwọn tó sọ fún wa yẹn gbogbo wọn.
Tí accident bá fẹ́ ṣẹlẹ̀, kò ní kó má ṣẹlẹ̀ o. Bọ̀dé ìwà sáré yóò rí control.
Ẹjọ́ orúkọ tó ń fún wa yìí ẹjọ́ tó bá ti di pé gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì ń gbọ́ èyí wàhálà onítìpà ọ̀la wàhálà onítìpà ọ̀túnla wàhálà onítìpà wọ́n á gbé ìgbésẹ̀ o.
An official of the Federal Safety Corps, Komolafe Busuyi, highlighted human error as a major cause of road accidents and encouraged adherence to traffic regulations.
Mechanical factor and environmental factor. When we are talking of human factor, we are talking of when you want to drink, don't drive. When you are driving, don't drink. The excessive speed, you must reduce it.
Members welcomed the initiative and expressed optimism about the achieving better outcomes through collective responsibility.
Ní Ondo State nípa gbogbo iṣẹ́ tí àwọn ń ṣe nípa iṣẹ́ transport tó yẹ kó kíyàn máa kọ́ṣọ́ ẹni tó bá ní àti òun náà dẹ́rẹ́bà pápátá ló yẹ ká máa kọ́ṣọ́ ara wa.
Ìpàdé tó pèlè nìyẹn ó jẹ́ ìpàdé ayọ̀. Wọ́n pe gbogbo ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ wá sí ìpàdé wọ́n dẹ̀ bá ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ ẹni tó ń sáré wọ́n ní kó ra mọ́ ṣe díẹ̀díẹ̀.
They also called for strict monitoring on the roads and a clampdown.
And that concludes Osrc Report. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.